What's going on, everyone? Nick or Catalyst here. Quick video today. So I recently stumbled across something that I found extremely interesting. Of course, we talk a lot about it on the channel. What is wrong, in quotations, with Battlefield 5, what might be going on within the studio that is DICE, and how this game can be better, what it's doing wrong. We just talk a lot about Battlefield, obviously. And one of the things that I've mentioned a lot when I've been talking about Battlefield 5 is the fact that DICE hasn't always seemed concerned with fixing the problems that go on with their game, and now that the game has kind of snowballed into something that is becoming almost a laughable meme at this point when it comes to the amount of bugs and glitches and bad patches that have been released into the game, now it appears like DICE really has a sense of urgency, and it seems like things are going way crazy within the developer area. And I recently came across a couple of reviews on the site Glassdoor. I was sent to this by my good friend and former teammate Tesseract, and what I read was actually quite interesting, and it really kind of enveloped what a lot of us as players and lovers of the franchise have been experiencing on the receiving end of all these patches in Battlefield 5. So I kind of want to take you through this, and we're going to read it together, and you might be surprised what you find as well. And of course, I will leave a link in the description if you all are interested in reading this for yourself. Today we'll be looking at a couple of these reviews. They are all negative, and I'm talking negative, like 1 or 2 stars when it's talking about working for the developer. And the thing that's probably the most surprising about these reviews is how recent they are. And I'm talking like within the last couple of weeks or so, right in the middle of when Battlefield was arguably going through its toughest time as a franchise. So it's going to give us a really nice perspective on what's been going on. So I'm just going to pull these up very quickly. The first review that we're going to be taking a look at is actually the most recent one. It was posted on July 19th. So today, or at least the day that I'm recording, is July 27th. So that was just over a week ago. This is about a week and a half ago, and the title of the review says "End of an Era." It's a 2-star review from a current employee, and he's a game designer. Doesn't recommend the company, and it has a very negative outlook. It says, "I've been working at DICE in Sweden full-time," which they are the main developers right now behind Battlefield 5. Pros: parties after work with free drinks and free breakfasts. That sounds kind of nice, but I don't know how often I want my developers partying after work instead of working on a game that desperately needs it. But moving forward, most, if not all, co-workers are friendly and nice to be around. Salary and compensation are good for a European studio, but still underwhelming compared to American studios' crunch, which I'm sure is referring to the crunch time, the deadlines that the lead developers want their patches and designs in, is very low for most employees. So I found that very interesting. That's pretty consistent with what we've all been thinking, which is DICE is really cramming to try and shove out patches, which is why these patches have been so bad. But moving down to cons, it says creative leadership appears totally clueless. More often than not, their vision raises eyebrows, questions, and concerns. I don't know about you all, but have you ever felt like Battlefield 5 has had a split in the direction of which it's trying to go? It seems like it's been flip-flopping a lot of the time, and that kind of testimony right there proves to me that we were kind of right about what we were feeling. They push their ideas through anyway, so that means a lot of the ideas that the lead developers have, they're being pushed in through the game even though they're not such a good idea. Maybe the removal of frontlines and domination comes to mind. Be prepared to work on systems you do not believe in, but leadership is convinced will be a smash hit. Studio leadership appears equally clueless or simply incapable of reining in creative leadership. The result is creative leadership is free to run amok with no oversight. Talking to studio leadership about issues will have them agree with you, only for nothing to happen. That's interesting. EA leadership either signs off everything without much scrutiny or are being kept in the dark on the problems the studio is facing right now. Leadership can make huge blunders but are forgiven and even promoted for the next project. I'm assuming they are talking about Battlefield Bad Company 3. Lower ranking employees can be stuck for years asking for a new role. Leadership conveniently holds meetings for themselves during playtests. Not surprisingly, they appear to be very disconnected with the state of the game. Wow. So developers also participate less and less because they know their concerns will not be addressed anymore. Bonuses and annual reviews can appear to be based on throwing darts. The quality and quantity of your work is not obviously reflected in your bonus, which can range anywhere from 50 to 150%. Politics seem to play a bigger role than competence. That actually shines very, very true from what we remember at the very beginning of the Battlefield 5 life cycle. Even before the game was even launched, there was a huge political aura surrounding this game. For years, some designers accidentally had salaries significantly lower than other designers with comparable backgrounds, experience, and titles. The editor for Frostbite is difficult to work with and feels like it is 15 years old. Basic file operations can take minutes. Simple actions like copy and paste do not work reliably. Many people have left over the past couple months. It will be difficult to find potential replacements and get them up to speed. Talent loss may never recover. The studio has become much less open recently. You used to be able to submit anonymous questions for studio meetings. This is no longer possible. Contractors stay contractors forever. That is a pretty damning review of what's going on inside of DICE right about now. And the last thing that on the review says, advice to management: DICE, play your games extensively before launch, then play them even more after launch. To EA, scrutinize new games and ask employees directly what went wrong with old games. Don't rely on studios' leadership perspective alone. So, just from that review by itself, it seems like DICE really has a leadership problem. And not only is the leadership politically charged and seemingly oblivious to what's going on with their game, it's suffocating the actual developers, the real people that care about this game. When you hear about people like Westy and JackFrag saying that, wow, these developers really care about the game, but we as the community haven't exactly seen that replicated in these patches and the love for the game, this kind of gives us a reason to understand why that might be. The developers, the true developers that do care about the game, are being suffocated out by the leadership that are politically charged and don't really seem to give a damn about this game, just the next project. But obviously that's just one review. You know, sometimes there's an angry employee that takes out its rage on a review site. You know, you take these things with a grain of salt. Well, I can't exactly do that in this situation because the next review directly below it is a 1-star review. So it's even a worse graded review, or at least review of the company rather, that's titled "All That Glitters Is Not Gold." It's from July 8th, so that's about 2 to 3 weeks ago, from a DICE designer that has been working there for more than 3 years now. One of the pros is some nice, friendly, professional people, nice free breakfast on Friday, great parties, so that's another reoccurring theme. From the first review, relaxed atmosphere, little need from crunch. That's a little bit directly imposing what the first review said, but moving on to the cons. This is where you're going to see a lot of similarities, and it's going to kind of paint the picture even clearer about what's going on inside the development studio. Mass exodus of talent, that's one that we heard about. Lots of people leaving, senior people who have been there for 15 plus years. It is apparent that there are massive gaps that will be very difficult to fill. Extremely political environment, that is something that we also heard in the first review. DICE is unique in that their line managers, who manage the talented people on the games, they're responsible for things such as performance, reviews, staffing, etc. Those people are great jobs in theory. Unfortunately, very few of them have worked on games and have a very limited knowledge of the area they are responsible for. When it comes to an annual review, they cannot judge the quality of the work for themselves, so they use the opinions of others to judge, leaving you open to political maneuvering from people who should be working with you. If politics is what motivates you, then you will enjoy and thrive in this environment. Infinite contracts for contractors. They keep on renewing every 6 months and never take contractors on permanently, which is bad for morale. Silos. Lots of different groups working on their own goals with very little communication or cooperation between them, so that's a lack of communication between development groups. Lack of strong leadership. This is also something that the first review hit on. Lots of talk, but plans invariably don't last longer than 6 months without changing. Over-reliance on a few people. While most people don't need to crunch, it invariably falls on a few to burn the midnight oil and pull things together, and those are the ones who suffer the most. Advice to management: recognize that you are a big part of the problem and the culture you have created is toxic. And the last review we're going to be looking at today, titled "Looks Great from the Outside, Full of Problems on the Inside," from May 4th, so this is from a couple of months ago. Pros: you get to work with experienced and skilled developers, of many which who want to help you grow and learn. Pay is great for new programmers, yada yada yada. Cons. The game studio is divided in silos that don't share the same goals. This is what the second review was talking about. This leads to dysfunctional communication, lack of progress, as well as a lack of clear vision. Strong presence of office politics, persuade the right people, play the game, and pretend like any issues are non-existent to maintain a facade amongst people. There are longer, that review tends to go longer, but for the sake of the video, I'm just going to cut it off there. You can read it if you want to. Again, it's going to be a link in the description. But what is all this telling you? These are 3 reviews in a row in some of the darkest times of not only Battlefield 5, but the Battlefield franchise in general, that are all talking about the same thing. A highly political environment, an environment in which the leadership is sabotaging the other developers and the game itself, and an environment of which they have no direction. Guys, this is exactly what we've been feeling on the outside, the receiving end of this, and we have wondered why it's been happening to us. I've thought in the past that DICE was a really, really good developer, and maybe it did used to be a good developer, but what these reviews are telling me is that really DICE is just as broken as their game is right now, and that's kind of very, very sad to say. So if you enjoyed this video, ladies and gentlemen, please give me a like on it. Share it around. I want many people to know this is possible. This is pretty big. This is great perspective for the community, and I think people do deserve to know about it. So share it. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Do you even share on Snapchat? I don't think that's even possible. Share on Snapchat. Subscribe if you're new. If you are subscribed, turn on post notifications. Thank you all so much for watching. My name is Nick or Catalyst, and I will see you all another time.